Hello everyone, this is JB Omukangala and I'm going to talk about this book, Fathers of Nations. The first time I read this book was not interesting. It was boring, to be honest. I have read it about 4 times and I can tell you it's a very captivating book on African leadership. And the author of this book, Paul Vita, is criticizing the African kind of leadership using satire, sarcasm, and humor. It has actually made me want to go back to teach literature. In this book, the people being referred to as fathers of nations are either presidents of African countries or men that are in leadership positions in various capacities. I will give you a few examples. We have Professor Kimani Karanja. This is a guy who just finished a university at Oxford University, and he is hired as a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Just imagine, straight from university to being a senior lecturer. Another one is Pastor Chiamaka, Chineke Chiamaka. He's a pastor, and he has become a pastor just by listening to other pastors and imitating them. Then he becomes a pastor. Then we have a President Bongora. Now this is the chairman of what we are calling the Method Committee that has been tasked to find a way of choosing between two documents, that is Path Alpha and Way Omega. President Bongora has not read either of the two documents and has openly told the summit that he's not going to read them. But they go ahead to appoint him as the chairperson of the method committee that will come up with a method of choosing between the two documents. You see that? Now again, the irony in this, fathers of nations. Professor Kimani was once a father and a husband. But his daughter, Tuni, was involved in an accident that claimed her life. And then he was divorced by his wife, Asia Omondi. That's father of nation. Dr. Folabi, a lecturer who has been invited by heads of states as an advisor, focusing exclusively on Way Omega, is not married, does not have children. He was once married to a white woman who did not want to give birth, a woman who thought it would have been good for them to adopt a child or two, but not give birth to their own. So they ended up divorcing when his clansmen sent him a girl they thought could have helped him get children of his own. So he is also not married, he's not a father. Comrade Melusi was once married to Zilza, who was murdered by the state. There's something called Muramba Zivuna. That was like civil unrest, and the government was responding using force. And in that process, Zeliza was murdered. So he's also not mother. He's not married. He's not a father. Engineer Tahiri. Engineer Tahiri is not married. He's not a father. He was once once interested in a lady who was working at the nuclear plant, but things did not work out well, and he ended up fighting the lady because he thought it was disrespectful for her, that is Mahmoud, to reject him. Yet in real sense, she had not rejected him. She was playing hard to get. Then we have who else? Everybody, almost everyone in this book is not married, is not having a family. We are not told about their families, but they are fathers of nations. Now, heads of states have convened in Banjulu to approve Way Omega, a document they think, once approved, is likely to change the kind of leadership we have in Africa. But then we have this guy called Tad Longway, who is working with AGDA, that is Agency for Development, for Growth and Development in Africa. He has been traversing different African countries to get people who are not satisfied with the kind of leadership that is in Africa. And AGDA have an alternative document that rivals Way Omega that they feel should be approved by the heads of states in their summit in Banjul. Now, Longway is working with AGDA to try and sneak this document into the summit and have it approved. He has reached out to Professor Kimani in Kenya, Dr. Afolabi. They met on a plane from America. Is it UK, Britain, or something of that sort? You say that? Yeah, they met on a plane, and he convinced him to support Path Alpha, or to become an advocate for Path Alpha. He went to Libya and met Engineer Tahir, convinced him to be an advocate for Path Alpha. Still went to Nigeria and met Pastor Chineke Chiamaka, who also accepted to be an advocate. Then went to Zimbabwe and met Comrade Melusi. Now, all these people are people who have suffered in the hands of the government in one way or another. So probably they are likely to be against the powers that be. So it's like he's looking for people who are rebellious and not satisfied with the kind of leadership that Africa is having. He has managed to recruit all of them and then appoint Dr. Afolabi to be their guide. That is the person who is supposed to be giving them direction on how they are going to carry out their activities during the summit. And they have been appointed by AGDA as observers. So they are coming to Banjulu to just be as observers. Now, the irony in this is that these heads of states, the fathers of nation, are convening in Banjul to approve Way Omega, yet some of them have not read it. They do not know the contents of this document, but they are here to approve it. That's very ironical. Now, again, Longway is working in cahoots with part of the presidents, including a president of the Gambia, to try and sneak Path Alpha into this summit and have it approved. This makes a president of the Gambia to step down as the chairperson of the summit, because customarily it is the president of or the head of state that hosts such meetings that is supposed to be the chairperson. But here, because there is what we call the trick, the conspiracy to sneak in a different document that wasn't there before, or that some presidents do not know anything about, he decides to step down and let someone else take his position. Now, Longway is working with these guys, and he's also working with Dr. Abiola Afolabi, who has been appointed or invited to come and advise heads of states on a few things in Way Omega. But again, Dr. Afolabi is also working with Longway to ensure that Path Alpha sneaks through and gets approved. Ironically, Path Alpha is approved in this summit. Yet, nearly all the presidents do not know the content of Path Alpha. It contains some of sections that are likely to work against them, but they approve it ignorantly. This is the kind of leadership that we are having in Africa, where presidents or heads of states focus more on things that benefit themselves more than those ones that benefit their electorates. The only thing that nearly caused a serious confrontation in Way Omega was a section that was not there, that some people suspected was there. President Ibarosa alleges that in Way Omega there was a section that limits a president's term to 2 terms, something that almost all the heads of states were against. But again, that thing wasn't there. He was suspecting that it was there, but it was not mentioned directly. So he raised that as one of what he thought could have been the weaknesses of Way Omega. And such discussions are some of the things that could have caused maybe conflict, if at all they were there. We have President Dibonso. President Dibonso does not want the trick to work. He is not aware. By the trick here, or Longway and HDA, are working with just part of heads of states, not everyone. They know who are hardliners, and they know who are gullible that they can use. So they're using those ones they think can cooperate. Those ones they know, like the Barossa, the Dibonso, those ones cannot be easily swayed. So they are left out of the trick. So during the discussion of choosing between Path Alpha and Way Omega, President Dibonso is against it. Minister Zinto is also against it, because it is just when they are getting to hear of Path Alpha They have never heard about it. And the summit here was focusing purely on Way Omega. But the irony in this is that path alpha, when they come up with what we call the method to choose between path alpha and Way Omega, we are told that path alpha would win even when it loses. It would win even when it wins. So they have come up with a trick of tossing a coin. Head means Way Omega goes through. Head tail means path alpha goes through. Tail head means path alpha is approved. So path alpha has two possibilities of being approved: when it is head and then tail, and when it is tail and then head. Way Omega has only one chance of being approved. That is when it is head. Because they feel like this coin falling on the same side twice will be very difficult. So again, when it is tail, Way Omega will be approved. So fortunately or unfortunately, the first toss is tail. So we proceed with path alpha. The second one is head. So path alpha gets approved. This summit ends in a serious conflict where President Dibonso, who was totally against path alpha and looks at this as nonsense, has to draw his gun and threaten to shoot the chair of the meeting. He's still holding his gun pointing at the chair when the commandos enter the summit and force him to withdraw, put the gun back, and sneak out of the summit. So, in short, Fathers of Nation is a book that portrays Africa as a continent that lacks quality leadership. Leadership that is based on gambling. Leadership where reason is overshadowed by either things to do with gambling or self-interests, where people like the presidents will only want to know or will be serious if whatever is being discussed has something to do with them losing power. Most of the heads of states in this summit have gotten to powers through either coups or stealing or rigging elections. So they are here to try and find a better way of making Africa work. Yet they are the ones who are the problems of Africa and their kind of leadership. This is an interesting read. If you get time, please go through it. And we are going to give you a guide very soon. It's coming very soon, maybe in a month's time, because we have been working on it for the last 6 months. So the guide is almost ready. Thank you.